Hey everybody, happy, here we go. COVID virus, ask Mike anything. We're all hunkered down at the house, and this is our opportunity to talk about pretty much anything you want to talk about in terms of, in particular, the CompTIA A Plus, Net Plus, and Security Plus. Of course, we're always open for almost any technical topic. See how quickly you can get outside of my skill area. And as always, we're constantly playing and tweaking with the setup here. I want to make sure we've got good sound. I think everything should be in good order now, but we're always, wondering about that. So first of all, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you happen to be. I see we got some friendly faces I recognize there. There's my buddy Elaine is here, and we've got Brandon Swenson and Tolowit. There's Scott Jernigan running the show from behind the scenes and sending me texts whenever I mess up. As you can see, it kind of got bright here in Houston today. I had everything set for a more subdued tone, but the sun's not quite out, but it looks good. It's going to be 90 degrees here in Houston today. It's the first 90-degree day, and I'm not in a big hurry for it to get that hot again, but that's what I get for living in southern Texas, huh? At least my backyard has palm trees. Here in southern Texas, if you have a hot tub, you have to actually turn it down. You would call it a lukewarm tub, otherwise you just melt to death. So first of all, before we get any further, I want to let you guys know that just because you are kind enough to show up for the Ask Mike Anything, we are doing a discount code for practice questions and simulations. All you got to do is look down underneath here and go to the Total Sim site and just type in this code, MMLive 406. Scott, double check me on that, will you? Is that the right code? Anyway, and you get 50% off of our simulations and 50% off the very popular CompTIA A Plus, Net Plus, Security Plus, and other practice exams. I love my practice exams because we work really, really hard to make the look and feel as much as we can without CompTIA smacking us in the head to give you a real sensation of what it's like to take the actual CompTIA exam. The main reason most people fail CompTIA exams more than anything else is test anxiety. So if I can take one thing out for you to be a little bit less concerned about, so when you approach the exam, the rough format is the same, that is very, very helpful. We find that people really like that. So these are all 50% off, and just go to the TotalSim.com website and check it out. It's a good deal. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is, how's that, Scott? Me. How do I sound? Great. The first thing I want to talk about more than anything else is that we've been doing kind of an open format last week and this week. We're going to start changing that. Starting next week, we're going to have very specific topics. And I'm pretty sure next Monday, don't hold this to me yet, we're going to pull out the Mike Meyers cool tools, and we're going to concentrate on smartphone tools. The tools I use on my super sneaky wireless and cellular type devices, network scanners, those types of things that run on Android. We'll see a little bit for iPhone, but mainly it's going to be for Android devices. So for those of you with Androids, you may want to check this out. There's some really amazing tools that as a technician, you'll be interested in. Now, keep in mind, the tools I'm going to show you are, for the most part, free, absolutely free. And hopefully you already know about some of these tools. These are some pretty common ones. So we'll be doing stuff like that. The other thing I want to mention is that I can talk about anything. That's easy for me. But what I'd be very interested in are there particular topics you want to talk about, especially those students who are studying right now and need some help on one particular topic or another. And you're all going to ask me, I know, you're going to ask me to do subnetting, aren't you? Well, we can do subnetting. I'm glad to do subnetting for you, but I'd sure like, couldn't we do something like SSDs or something fun, or video, or, whatever you might want to dive into. Command line. So I'll come up with topics, but I'd much prefer it if we came up with topics that were interesting for you guys. The other thing to keep in mind is that we've got a lot of people in here that have a lot of skills. And if you always a shout out to Elaine Batzler from Essex Tech, who knows far more about Cisco than I ever will. And so we have lots of people on here that even if I don't have the answer, you might want to watch the live chat, because a lot of times people will chime in and help even where I get stumped. And getting me stumped is not impossible. It happens, but especially I do not speak Cisco very well. But you know, topics like that, that's why we have so many great people here to help us out. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and start digging into some questions here. Scott, did I write the correct code? Yes, MMI 506, super duper. Nigel, hi, look at all these guys, Andrew Hutz, look at all these folks. Guys up in Bangor, Maine. What's that big famous park up there? I was just there last year. Big national park. Augusta? I forgot the name of the park. It was beautiful, and I love Maine, and I found out what a lobster pen was. I'd never heard that term before. So my sound is cutting in and out. Is that still happening, Elaine? Sorry, guys. We practice and practice. Acadia National Park. Thank you. All right. So, yeah, you like my shelf, Nathaniel? That's my boasting shelf back there. These are, it's not even all of them, but it's most of the books I've written over the years. And on the other side is, I read other people's books. Like, for example, I read every A+ and Net Plus book out there, and most of the Security Plus books, just to make sure I'm the best. Anyway, so Nintendo Finky, hope all safe and waiting. Hey man, you're back from South Africa, dude. I'm curious, what time would it be there? Like, you can do this math. It's like 11 midnight or something like that, isn't it? All right. Gino, am I the only one wishing there was a Gordon Ramsay kitchen nightmare show where Mike and a few other online techies, different data centers, yell at the managers and fix them? Hey, you donkey. I'm too nice. Gordon Ramsay, he's just a mean person. Mike, is it a good idea to do GPT partitioning on an external hard drive? Sure. I mean, yes. I'm hard pressed to do traditional MBR partitioning anymore. You know, if you, for example, you're doing Windows 10 and you got UEFI, you're going to be doing GPT anyway. I've never actually thought about that. I've just ran, you know, I plug in an external drive. Most of the time, they're already partitioned. Not all the time. I guess if I had an enclosure and I was throwing like a old school SATA kind of connection like that, yeah, I'd go with GPT. I don't think you have a lot of choice, especially in a Windows environment. Daniel Coleman, Diego Medina, ¿cómo está, señor? Iron Man, I am outside USA. How can I buy the testing simulation? It's online. You just run it. Is this code valid for Network Plus as well? Yes, it is. Great idea to have a topic each day. Thanks, Tolowit. So really, I want you guys to really give me some input on some of the topics we can cover. I'm very excited about smartphone stuff just for the convenience of it. And so that's definitely one I want to do. I've been hearing a lot of people hollering about port number and application. That's something we could do. So, you know, I can make up plenty of topics, but I'd be very interested to hear what you guys have to say. Is this code valid for Network Plus? Yes, yes, yes. All right. Do you have a 30-day free trial for the Total Sim? I don't. No, sorry, man. Hi, Mike. Which internet connection? Whoa. This scrolling's killing me, man. Vimalad. Hi, Mike. Which internet connection needs modems? Cable line, DSL, fiber optic? Well, we kind of had a talk about this yesterday a little bit. And to me, the right answer, I always get in trouble with this because then someone's going to say, well, on page 427, you said 2 + 2 = 5 for very large values of 2. And the thing you run into is that there are no modems left anymore. So that term isn't accurate, but it does linger on, in particular with cables. So you hear the term cable modem all the time. To me, they're terminal adapters or bridges, but it doesn't matter. I can be technically correct and have no friends. So at least for the exam, I would stick with when we talk about a modem, think cable modem. Do you have any tips on remembering network protocols? You had network protocols on the A+ 1000 one, not the 1002? Okay. This is Daniel Coleman. Tips, this is like the fourth, Daniel, you're the fourth person to ask me, is there some kind of methodology or something to memorize the protocols? I don't like tables, but over the years, people have pressured me into generating tables for this stuff. So I just use tables and run through them. The CompTIA is really, really good on the objective, saying exactly which ones are which. And I am unaware of some magical, what do you call that? Like with the musical scales, every good boy does fine. There's a term for that. I don't have anything like that. Sorry. Okay, Daniel. Okay, buddy. Network protocols and ports. You got it, brother. We'll do it. And what I'm thinking about doing is kind of like a light touch on each one, really. So it's more of a recognizing, port 23, port 25, all the email ports, that kind of stuff, and using some of that kind of thing. Tolowit, what's the current setup for broadcasting this live stream? So right now I've got a real high-end MSI laptop. It's one of the Steel series. It's got a big old i7 in it. I'm running 32 gigs of RAM. I've got a NVIDIA graphics card in here, and I'm actually directly connected via cable to my gigabit. It's nice to live in a city. I get gigabit Ethernet. I don't have a cable modem. I don't have any. I just got Ethernet plugins. Pretty cool. I'm running an M Audio sound system, which is why I'm hoping our sound's a little bit better. Sorry that it was sounding a little rough there early, and I think we got that fixed. And we're using some fancy high-end webcam that Scott Jernigan got for me. I think it's a Logitech C920. Don't hold me to that number. We've got pro lighting in here, and every day we're adding. And this is, if this keeps going the way it's already started, this will probably end up being, I don't want to say permanent, knock on wood, but it seems that I'm getting a lot of people. It's really helping. And right now my attitude is I'm going to just do this during this crisis. But get a lot of good feedback. A lot of people are saying, yeah, Mike, let's do this and add that and cast of thousands. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. We'll see. Any useful MDM tools for Android? I don't have any. You mean MDM? My name's Michael Davis Meyers. So you need Michael Davis Meyers tools? So we get that. I probably don't have true MDM tools, but I can look. See, the thing is I make like for A+, Net Plus, Security Plus, I have what I call Mike's Cool tools, which are more like desktop, laptop tools. Some of these, like for example, the world famous Wireshark is one of those. But I got a lot of tools just for the things that I need to do to keep computers and networks running. That's a fairly stable list. And but the smartphone tools it's still growing and changing very, very quickly. And so I'll show you what I got, and maybe you guys could even add to it based on your own experience with that type of stuff. I used to have a great time using it, have multiple different OSs on one machine. The last one was 2000, and I tried so many times unsuccessfully to install it on Windows 08. Did I miss the first part of this, Dr. Quinn? I'm going to scroll up. Sorry, man. Not quite sure. Sorry. Acadia. Yes, I got it, Timothy. Acadia. Beautiful place. Miss Poet. Hello, Miss Poet. Okay. Professor Krager, man, cool tools. Downloaded them a few days ago. Some old friends in there. Yeah, I mean, again, nothing I have is top secret. It's just my pile of tools. And they serve me well. And I get stuff fixed with them. So, I like them. What are those giant trophies? Elaine, those aren't trophies. Those are drums. Yes, I played Middle Eastern drums. My daughter was 14 years old a long time ago, and we were at a campsite, and my daughter decided she liked belly dancing, and I had to quickly come up with a way to stay within 6 feet of her at all times. And so I used to do stick drumming when I was in high school and college. So I moved to hand drumming really as an excuse to make sure my daughter was safe, which was absolutely unnecessary. Wonderful groups of people in the belly dance community. And I picked it up and had fun. So yeah, I still drum. So those are not trophies. Is that what you mean? On top is some glassware I like. And this is a painting from my buddy Nancy Meadows, who actually shows up on this channel a couple of times. So yeah. Taylor, there we go. Any giveaways? And no giveaways today. Sorry, buddy, but we will have more giveaways this week. We're looking at probably Friday is going to be the big giveaways days, but I'm going to make it more fun where I'd like to do things during the week that would help you win on Friday. So something like that. Daniel Coleman, you're looking forward to Apple's ARM processors. Why? I mean, okay, I like my ARM processors just fine, but it could be cool. Yeah, I forget what these are. These are actually Middle Eastern. I have a Doombeck. That's not a Doombeck. There's another name for it. So there we go. Wow, you guys have got a lot of questions today, which is great. Nigel, I am currently studying for the CCNA, and after I will be studying your Security Plus, but CompTIA renews their certs every 3 years. Do you think you'll be renewing Security Plus soon? I'm renewing it now. Are Google accounts easily cloned? No, not cloned. There's some spoofing capabilities that you could do on a Google account, but you know, there's some pretty strong lockdowns on Android, especially with Android 10 now. Some of the stuff that wasn't, just the amount of care they put into this stuff that makes it. I've never heard of it. I'm not even sure what you mean by cloned per se. Spoofed, I think is what you meant. And now with multiple way authentications and codes and everything, I haven't heard that being a problem. Jailbreaking Macs is fun. You know, I've never jailbroke a Mac. I've certainly rooted my Androids. In fact, in order to use some of the cool tools we'll be talking about, it's almost required to root it. And so some of the boot ROMs, we probably ought to even talk about that when we get into that. So I'll have this locked down by tomorrow. We'll make an announcement, you know, what we're going to be talking about. The CDC is using mainframes. Yeah, they are. Did you guys hear about them looking for COBOL programmers or something like that? What is a mainframe versus a server? Ooh, that's a big question. Okay. So we got to look at that a couple of different ways. Okay, first of all, what is a server? Okay, to me, a server is a machine which provides some type of resource that clients access. Okay, so you could go back to 1993 and have an old Novell NetWare file server, which was just serving up folders, really, and that is very much a server. Today, when we talk about servers, we're usually talking about Intel-based machines that are providing some kind of resource. They could be web servers or virtual machine servers or still file servers or all kinds of servers, tons of servers out there. The challenge is you can do a server on anything. I can make my phone a file server if I wanted to. The problem is that this system doesn't have enough robustness. It doesn't have redundancy. It doesn't have reliability. And that's why we tend to turn to what we classically call a server rack mount system, because it's going to have, you know, even on the most basic ones, you tend to see multiple power supplies, RAID arrays, lots of RAM, just all kinds of stuff on there to give the server the robustness so that if many people want to access that shared resource, they can get to it, okay? So that's really all. A server to me is a verb. A server is any machine that is serving something. Now, if you want to go back in time, we go to mainframes. There's going to be a lot of argument here because I don't think you can get anybody to have a definitive date of what a mainframe is. But classically, in the world of a mainframe, what you did is that the mainframe didn't really serve anything in the classic way. What you did is you accessed this big, powerful computer, and you usually use dumb terminals, and you would access them, and you would have job control language because this one big computer was servicing many, many dumb terminals simultaneously. So really all that it was doing at the dumb terminal side is just giving you the place for you to make input and a place for the computer to make output. So there's nothing really stored on the dumb terminal, and you're just taking a little piece of the time of the mainframe. So the mainframe was everything. It wasn't just a server. In fact, it wasn't really a server at all. It was a big darn computer, and you accessed it and you got your work done that way. There was no saving files locally. You know, the dumb terminals, that didn't exist. Now, to make things very confusing, back in the early 90s or late 80s, IBM realized that the IBM PC was really starting to turn into something pretty cool. And IBM invented a very famous interface called the IBM 3270 card or 3278 card. And you'd snap this card into an ISA slot. If you don't know what ISA is, good. You'd snap it into an ISA slot, and then you could make a toggle, and you'd toggle, like, I don't remember, it was like Alt Escape or something like that, and it would go ka-thunk, and you'd be a dumb terminal, or you go ka-thunk, and you'd be back into, back then it was like DOS or super early versions of Windows. It was hilarious. But I could use a computer to access the mainframe. In fact, if we ever have a lot of time, on the old IRQs back in the old days, used to be an IRQ called IRQ 2/9. That was all because of these 3270 cards. IBM's hilarious. So Timothy, you asked me what time it is, and I told you how to build a clock with that answer? Moscow, did you figure out? Let's go ahead and announce that again anyway. So IBM announced last week that they're going to be doing online testing. It'll be proctored testing in your home, so I guarantee you're going to need a camera. Starting April 15th, you'll be able to sign up for online testing. Now, is it going to be the kind of thing where you can just sign up and immediately take the test? I doubt that, because you're going to have to line up a proctor anyway. So it's probably just going to have to get some kind of schedule. Did I say IBM twice? I meant View. Sorry. You schedule the exam sometime in the future. I'm assuming there's going to be massive demand for this up front, and I wouldn't be surprised if your scheduling would end up being weeks in the future. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to sign up. I'm going to take some tests, not because I really want to take a test. I just want to see how the online stuff works. So, yeah. Total sim practice does not work well on iOS. Nah, yeah, yeah. Sorry. Hey, Mike, recently I did my Network Plus. Do I need to do an A+ as well or no? What certificate covers my Network Plus? Okay. Let me think about that. Gulam Sarway. Sorry, man, I'm butchering names today. No, you don't have to take, if you've taken a Network Plus, you don't have to take an A+. I mean, what do you want to do? You know, that's always the big question. Too many people come in and go, I'm just going to take a bunch of certifications and get a job. Well, why don't you decide what you want to do in this big, wonderful, wacky world called IT, and then it's easier for me to make answers to that. Also, keep in mind, just because you say you want to do something now, that doesn't mean you can't change your mind a year from now or 2 years from now. We do it all the time. And it's very common for people to change their interest within the world of IT over a career. That's very, very common. But you need to start with something. So, you know, you got to tell me what you want to do. And what certificate covers my Network Plus? Well, Network Plus is a certification. So Network Plus is a certification that is provided by the Computing Technology Industry Association, better known as CompTIA. They are a vendor-neutral, industry-wide organization. Boy, does that sound familiar to anybody? and they administer these examinations. I don't administer any exams. I'm just one of many, many fine purveyors of training materials for the CompTIA exams. And in fact, there's a few I don't even cover. So, but for A+, Net+, Security Plus, Andrew Hutz, Mike, is a lot of talk on tech forums about folding at home to help researchers study Corona. Can you get a literal view of how it works and why it's based on GPU rather than CPU? Sure. Yeah. I mean, God, folding at home, that's ancient, guys. I mean, does anybody type in something? Do you remember the old SETI search for extraterrestrial intelligence? You used to have SETI at folding at home, and this was over 10 years ago. It might be 15 years ago, and you'd have a screensaver and then they were folding proteins for something. Anyway, it's a pretty simple concept that it takes advantage of unused CPU cycles on your computer to help generate and calculate these fantastically complicated types of calculations. And so when you use folding at home and you install it, and you have a lot of control over this, by the way, in terms of how it runs and when it runs and things like that. And then it will take excess CPU cycles. You can let it run overnight. You can let it run whenever the machine gets sleepy. Yeah, yes, Scott. I know SETI is dead. Scott's reminding me SETI is dead. No, it's all for COVID. It's the exact same thing, though. It makes no difference whatsoever. You have very large arrays of data that we can slice up conveniently into tens, if not hundreds of thousands of individual bits of variables that can be calculated on individual machines, brought back together, and then solutions can be derived from it. So I don't know exactly how I'm not a biologist, so I don't know what they're doing with the molecules or whatever, proteins, to do these types of calculations. I took P-Chem, physical chemistry, in college, but it was the 80s, and I didn't pay a lot of attention. But they do cool stuff with it, and yeah, but I can't actually describe what it is actually doing because it's more of a chemistry question. Oh, why does he use GPU? Well, that's an easy answer because GPUs are a whole lot better at crunching humongous numbers than your CPU is. I mean, the whole function of a GPU is to basically repaint this screen in front of us, right? So GPUs, almost from day one, were designed to be able to munch and crunch on really, really big strings of numbers. There's a lot more to it. They're efficient to that, and most of this chemistry stuff uses great big numbers, and the GPUs work great. Yeah, it's hilarious. I had completely forgotten that they're doing this for COVID now. What's your opinion on Malwarebytes free or premium? I can't remember exactly what I'm missing with the free version, because I know Malwarebytes will still clean. I think, is it somebody help me out here. I think the Malwarebytes premium is the only way to get the bootable thumb drive. I'll also say this. I haven't paid for malware, and I haven't paid for anti-malware. Malware. Whoosh. I haven't paid for anti-malware in quite a while. That the free products that are out there today are pretty good. Hey, Scott, that would be another good one. We should do like a anti-malware episode. So people can, let's show them how to make bootable anti-malwares, talk about some of the stuff that's out there. So write that down for me, Scott, will you? What is your, okay, we got that one. Is it enough? Yeah. In a Windows environment, I think the built-in tools by Microsoft are extremely good and well updated, and I like them. For me to put in a third-party product is maybe I've already got infected, or I'm getting suspicious that maybe I'm infected. I want to search again. I want to look at it from a different angle. Every time you see people who do a lot of work with malware, that they will often select multiple anti-malware tools just because different tools tend to look at things in different ways, and some catch stuff that others don't. But even that said, I've been living pretty much exclusively on Microsoft these days. But again, I haven't been cleaning up other people's messes. I'm pretty good good internet citizen in terms of what I do. And if I'm going someplace questionable, I'm usually going to run it through a VM and simple things like that to make your life easier. But that would be an interesting topic. I'm really thinking maybe we ought to spend an entire day on that. I think people would get a big kick out of that. Oh, Mathana Ali, PAS, SAS, SSA. I think he meant IAAS. Sure. Okay. Sorry, guys. We did this yesterday, but I'll do it again. Not a problem. So when you have cloud-based computers, what you really have are very large servers, physical servers, that are running big, powerful hypervisors with an amazing interface that allows even you as a user to spin up their own virtual machines and do whatever they need to do. So when we talk about IaaS, or infrastructure as a service, we're talking about probably the most first generation of cloud stuff, the Amazon Web Services, not IC3. I forget what the exact name of the AWS services, where you can just log in and you can spin up a virtual machine, create an account. You can do this. You have to give them a credit card, but you don't have to use the credit card, as long as you don't make a really fancy machine. And it's also very safe because AWS doesn't want your money unless you want to spend it, and they will give lots of "are you sures" as you're doing this, so you're not going to end up spending any money. Ugh. So you can log into Amazon Web Services, and it'll go, "Hey, let's spin up a virtual machine." I forget what Amazon has a different name for it, but it's a virtual machine. And you can say, how many CPUs do you want? How much RAM do you want? Base storage, what operating system do you want? You can say what type of applications. You want a web server software on there. You can, in some cases, pick anti-malware. You can pick different ways to do firewalling. And you kind of just press a button and it goes, and you now have root control of your own server far, far away, and you can do anything you want to it. It's pretty cool. It's a Windows, you can remote desktop, you get SSH into it, do whatever you need to do the voodoo you do so well. So that's infrastructure as a service. The problem is a lot of programmers out there don't want to mess with that part because they just want, they're writing code, they're writing a web app, and they want that web app to work. So they're going to use something called platform as a service, or PaaS. PaaS just means there's companies out there with names like Heroku, and they're really not interested in you spinning up virtual machines. They kind of do that all for you in the background, and you just run your code, make the code work. It gives you a fully qualified, well, it'll give you certainly a URL so that you can access it on another computer, test it, do whatever you want to do. It removes the entire IaaS. Well, it doesn't remove it, it just makes it lower. And then what was the last one? SAS. That's software as a service. Software as a service just means software as a service. So in this case, now we have completed software. To me, everything that is the internet is software as a service. A Google website is a piece of software that runs on a web server that allows you to type in stuff and it gives you answers. To me, that's software, and it is a service. And luckily, it's a free service. But I think what most people, when we talk about software as a service, we're talking more like, for example, Microsoft 365, and where you can have, Microsoft Word in a web browser and stuff like that. And those you pay for. Why are hubs still covered on the A+ exam? Daniel Coleman asks. Daniel, I often ask the exact same question. Well, the answer is because it's still an objective. And until CompTIA removes the word hub from their objective list, I'm going to cover it because it's an objective. Yeah, Nigel, we are working on the new Security Plus literally as we speak. Nathaniel L., what is jailbreaking? Okay, well, when you look at a smart device, any smart device that's running, for example, and I should keep this to Apple, but I'm better at Android, so we'll start there. So when you look at my smartphone, you don't have root access to your own phone. You don't have the super user. And that can be a good thing. There's some strong arguments for why people don't want to use it. Mainly it's because people are idiots and bad things can happen. But Android has Google or whoever it is, they have root access to your phone. and on the Androids, when you take over root access, we call it rooting. When you take over root access on a Apple, you call it jailbreaking. I have, in my opinion, I'm not a super Apple guy, but I hang around with some, and jailbreaking is hardly beneficial in most people's opinion. There's usually extremely rare situations where jailbreaking can be beneficial. Rooting an Android phone, however, there's a lot of software out there that you're just not going to be able to run unless you have root access, especially some of the more, I hate to use the word naughty software, but the software you have to be more careful about. All right. All right, where are we at? So, but what's the difference between DiffServ and MediaNet? MediaNet's that Cisco thing, right? You know what? I'm going to, Dawson, Jeff, I am, for QoS kind of stuff like that, I'm not probably the best genius on earth. I'm going to have to skip that. So maybe somebody who's more Cisco-y could answer that question. I use a GoPro. Yep, GoPros are great. Hello, Debneth. Hello, sir. I'm a cybersecurity enthusiast. There's an interesting turn of phrase. I'm an enthusiast. Okay. Would it be a good idea to have CompTIA A+, Net Plus, Security Plus, and then Cisco CNA, start a career in cybersecurity? Love from India. All right. I got to think about that one for a minute. All right, so Debneth, first of all, again, I apologize for mauling names. Man, I would love to just sit and talk with you on the phone, because I'd say to you, why are you an enthusiast? Is there something you've been doing that you enjoy and is fun for you? I know plenty of people who script kiddie types who go play with a piece of software and things like that. But I'd almost want to ask you that question. Probably you probably wouldn't be interested in A+, to be honest with you, because you're really not going to be doing much system level stuff. Net Plus is good. Security Plus. I would be curious what Elaine Batzer would say about then going to Cisco CCNA. But I will tell you this, and I know Elaine would agree with me on that, is that pretty much any serious IT security nerd is going to be a Cisco person, unless you're going more into the management side of things. Does anyone run Mac OS on a Windows platform? I don't. I tried to do it a couple of times through a VM. It didn't work very well. All right, Scott Jernigan agrees with me. We need to do an anti-malware. We will do it. Lots of good questions today, guys. William Molina, Jaled, no giveaways today. Talk to me on Friday. What are the tools you mentioned techs can use? Your list. Well, William, I'm telling you, man, we're gonna have some Mike's cool tools. Ask me anything. Probably starting next week. We'll get them scheduled out. But there are you talking about physical tools? Like I use a iFixit toolkit and a number 2 screwdriver, and that covers about 90% of everything I've got to do on computers in terms of actual hardware tools. I have a tester for a power supply. I have a voltmeter. Yeah, that's about it. I'm probably missing something really important. I do not use anti-static tools. I know I should. You should. If you're responsible for those products, you should use anti-static tools. I'm just really careful with my stuff. Keep a jar of heat dope around. Bunch of spare fans. That's about it. So yeah, so if we're talking about, Scott Jernigan, a time domain reflectometer, well, that'd be okay. So let's talk networking tools then. Yeah, so I would have I use a Fluke micro scanner, which is a great little tool made by Fluke, and it is for physical cable testing, and it's absolutely fabulous little tool that has wire map, continuity testing. Uh, Fox and Hound is built into it, so if you're messing with a bunch of cables, the only downside is like $500. But if you're working with cables at all, you just own one because they're absolutely critical. Daniel Coleman, you will have some driver issues when running Mac OS on it. Yeah, I'll bet. And bias issues and all kinds of stuff. Nigel, is there much of a difference between the current Security Plus and the new one? I wouldn't say there's a huge difference. If you're about to say, can I use my old Security Plus book to pass the new one, I'm going to say no. And I'm not, because I'm just trying to sell you a book. It expands on technologies a lot. It's going to be, in my opinion, a lot more practical and probably a little bit more challenging too. Knowing how CompTIA does stuff, I can almost guarantee that some of the CYSA Plus questions are going to drop down into Security Plus. It's just how they do it. They've been doing it that way for 20 years. Does MS Virtual Machine work on Win 8? I'm not sure what you mean by virtual machine. There was the old, we're going way back. It was like Windows XP had a virtual machine function. It wasn't really a VM. It wasn't truly a hypervisor. But man, I don't know. That's an interesting question. Because, it always begs, I hear a question like that, I'm like, why, The Department of Defense just switched to AMD. Good for them. I'm very pro AMD right now. Showing my age, I miss COBOL. I don't miss JCL. There, you really want to show your age? I was running on this is like when I first started, it was a IBM System 36, and we were running on a Roscoe interface using Wilbur. You don't know? Good, okay, good. The computers of your forefathers. What programming do you suggest a newbie learn, Mr. Meyers? Pick one. I wish Michael Smyer was on right now. I would probably say Java or Python would be a good language, and really make something of it. Don't just hello world it. Take enough time to create something of, like something that takes input, either text input or mouse input or something, and make some kind of output. Make it real. Throw it up on a web page, and actually, even, it doesn't have to be pretty, but you can do that. So either one would go. Yes, thanks for the free stuff, Mike. Love you. Yeah, okay. Free. AMD is slashing Intel. Yeah, I mean, the Ryzen processors really did shake things. I won't argue that point at all. But Intel still makes some pretty good stuff. Great stuff. Professor Krager, conference with the best brains in the new realm of computer programming. The committee will build on Hopper's early work to develop what will be, yeah. Grace Hopper, man, you gotta love her. Did Grace Hopper generate COBOL? Yeah, I guess she did, didn't she? Ahmed Reza, while buying an SSD, goodness sakes, how does this time go so fast? While buying an SSD, which specification should we pay more attention to for longevity? Brand name, really? You're talking about construction quality more than anything else. When you're talking about longevity, you're not talking about speed. Reputation. It's kind of different than like working with. Hold on a minute. This just in. Okay, no worries. Yeah, so like I'm a real big fan of Samsung SSDs right now, and I've never had one break on me yet. Well, at least none that I deserved. electrocuted one once and dropped another one on about 13 feet. That smoked, well, not just the SSD, dang near everything on the laptop, but yeah. Brand name and reputation. Yeah. My version of Windows 10 does not have an encrypting file system option. That's because you're using Windows Home. If you want EFS, you have to use a professional version of Windows 10. I highly recommend checking out the new Asus ROG laptop with AMD. All right, Danny, I will check it out. I love my MSI though. I mean, it's so delicate, but I like it. And honestly, I go to my Surface Pro for just about everything anyway. Are you allowed to take the A+ or any CompTIA over if you passed it? Yeah, yes, you can. People might ask why, but CompTIA is always glad to take your money. I didn't say I was going to retake the A+, okay? I might end up taking, I don't know, Linux Plus or something. But I have that too. Is all IT training on your own? No, not at all. Ray Nichols, you've got lots of choices when it comes to IT training. Number one, there's lots of amazing schools out there that provide a formalized IT training. Schools are a great way to go. They tend to be a bit more expensive, but they don't have to be. There's a lot of public schools that give some great deals out there. Going to a formal school provides a regimentation. It provides accountability to at least into an instructor or a report card that a lot of people find useful for them. But you can also be self-trained. Remember, certifications, with few exceptions, there are a few that require like bachelor's degrees. CISSP, of course, is famous for that, or requires a certain amount of actual time in practical, in on-the-job experience. But for the most part, the vast majority of all IT training, the certifications is what we're talking about. You just walk up to a machine and take a test. And there are rarely training requirements. Now, sometimes you'll see some stuff out there. Certified Ethical Hacker has some fairly onerous training requirements. Basically, you have to take their training or you can't take the test, which is, I think, is jerk face. But no, you just go for it. Julia Saul, Messer said online training is not safe. There is inherent risk to anything like that. I'd be curious if that's exactly what he said. I'll bet he said there might have been some qualifications we should consider. And pretty smart guy. But will there be people who take advantage of the situation? Absolutely. But like anything, it'll be quickly patched and fixed. So one of the things about this online training that maybe Professor Messer didn't know is that a big part of it is that you are going to have a person staring at you through your own webcam. And I've heard stuff like if you duck down or something like that, they go boop and you just failed. So there's some pretty tight rules there. Ray Nichols, I got a job for the training opportunity, and after 3 years I quit because I felt like I wasn't trained any relevant experience. It turned me off of IT. How do I get back on the horse? Well, to me, you got to you got to get your passion back. Here, you want me to sound like Chef Ramsay? Here you go. You donkey, you don't have any passion. You don't ask me to do a British accent. So your passion never went away. It's just the environment around you burned you out. Did you ask this question before? Anyway, so to me, the big thing is you hang out with people who are full of energy and drive. These makers fairs that are popping up all over the place are great places to hang out. Having them with friends online or in person. I mean, if I get a new piece of hardware, I'm getting on the phone. I got 5 or 6 buddies coming over. We're all going to just play with that thing, whatever it is, because we all like playing with stuff. And finding that type of peer group would probably be the best thing I would go. I agree, Elaine. Back in the day when Windows, I don't even think it's called Windows Defender anymore. I forget what it's called. It was pretty rough, but it's come a long way. All right, we're going to do anti-malware. Done and done. Scott, write that down so I don't forget, buddy, okay? Do you need a third-party security suite? Generally, no. I haven't had a situation like that. To me, most of the time, third-party security suites, whatever that might mean anymore, is simply a way to take a lot of money and reduce CPU cycles without necessarily helping you do stuff that you can often do in your own way. So we'll see. Hey guys, speak of the devil. Our Professor Messer just logged in. Hey man, I know it's been a few years since I've seen you. We're just doing these little AMAs to help all our students out while we're trying to get through this COVID virus. So welcome aboard. Got to say hello. And speaking of NASA links, do you guys see Wissa Bear? Wissa, if you ever watch the NASA channel and you see this little tiny brunette head that's just sticking up over the console like that, that's Wissa. And she is an engineer for NASA. And that's where all those great shirts come from. It was from Wissa. So Wissa, I just want to let you know, everybody loves the NASA shirts, and they all want some. And I'm like, I don't know how I can do that. Nigel, can you tell me the safest way possible to download movies? No. Buy Netflix like the rest of us. Pay for it. Enjoy your streaming movies. These things cost money. You know, as somebody who gets most of his revenue from royalties, the idea of stealing stuff becomes more and more oppressive to me. You know, you're literally taking food from the mouths of my children. Yeah, so do a little Netflix and chill, buddy, and we're all good, man. So, yeah, there's lots of fun places for bad people to do these things, and I am not going to be a part of that process. Are my books available in Egypt? I believe they are. I have. I believe I even have. I have an Arabic translation. I don't remember who the publisher is, but if you use Amazon Egypt, they have it on there. I've seen it, and of course English, whatever you prefer there, German, a few others that like yeah. So and certainly via we can do Kindle. I know that. So yes. Messer for president. All right. As long as I can be the uber overlord of the universe. Hey, Mike, do you think CompTIA could start taking the exams online? Jorge Fernandez. Senor, we were already talking about that, but yeah, Professor Messer, I didn't think that's what you said either. I wasn't worried about it. Yeah, yeah, they're working on it right now. Jorge, it's going to start April 15th. Nobody knows exactly what this looks like. I mean, I've got some ideas, but I don't want to spread disinformation. But it seems to be a very exciting and interesting opportunity for people to be able to take exams from their home. For me, a big part of that is, especially with A+, is that you have these new learners, and they're always they've got so much test anxiety anyway. So some school throws them all on a bus and drives them to a view testing center, and everything's all regimented and weird, and they're handed a whiteboard or some paper, and it makes them nervous. And I don't like that. So if we could take that stressor out of the testing experience, you could just take it at home, or I don't know, maybe we'll be able to do it through schools like that. We'll see how it all ties together. View allows testing centers to be in schools. Yeah, it goes through a few hoops, but you can do that too. That will, I think it's going to make a big difference in terms of certainly the pass rate. The number one reason people fail CompTIA A+, Net+, and to a lesser degree Security Plus is test anxiety, not lack of knowledge. Michael ampersand, you work for SpaceX? Really? That would be really cool. I would love to talk. Space is me. I love, living in Houston and having folks like Wissabear around that I can, she can get me onto the Space Center and, we get to do stuff, badge our way into stuff and hang out with a bunch of cosmonauts. And it's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun. Yeah, the testing centers are stressful. It's just not a really good way to go. All right, well, guys, we got like 5 more minutes left. So first of all, I want to remind you guys, just because you were kind enough to show up today, we're getting 50% off of the simulations and practice questions at totalsem.com. Just when you get over there, just type in MM Live 406, just like that, and you get 50% off across the board. I'm extremely proud of my practice questions. I like them very, very much. Obviously, I do not copy CompTIA questions because if I did, well, they'd throw me away and lock me up and throw away the key. But if I have a question on my practice questions that says 2 + 3 = X, well, you better practice what 3 + 3 and 2 + 2 = 2. You get what I understand what I mean? So I like to try to match not only the physical look and feel of the exam, but people who write test questions, they're like novelists in a way that they create a tone to their questions. And a lot of times if I read somebody's practice test bank, usually in about 5 minutes or less, I'll go, that's a transcender or whatever, just because I know almost everybody in the industry who writes the questions, and it can really it's great. And I do it too, even with my practice questions, but I try to match what I perceive as the tone of CompTIA questions, which a lot of times means me writing things that are not the way I want to write them. But I feel it makes for better questions, which also brings up one other thing that's really important. To me, if you're going to be going for practice questions, get at least 2 sources. Professor Messer, I know you sell questions. He's got questions. Transcender, Robin Abernathy down there writes amazing questions. I'm going to stick with those for right now. And I think you're going to find that when you have more than one source, you'll literally have the same question, but just because of the phraseology, it sounds very different. And that way you don't get thrown when you go into the A+ or Net Plus and you sit down and you see a question, you go, I know this question, but it's a weird question. Well, it's not a weird question. It's got a different tone to it. So having multiple sources is always a good idea, in my opinion. Oh, Dr. Quinn, I don't know if WISA is still on, but hey, they're hitting me up for NASA t-shirts. Well, the problem is that they're not the easiest things to get a hold of, especially some of like the Apollo 11 40th anniversary or 50th, was it 50th? 40th, I forget. Some of the stuff's really easy to get a hold of. Maybe I'll do hats. We'll think about that. I'll see if I can hit up WIS to help me out there. Are the Total Sem practice tests on Udemy the same as the ones on the website? Nope, totally different. Hello, what training videos, what channels can you recommend for exploring computer networks? Well, young person, I'll tell you right now, if you really want to explore computer networks, you really ought to be taking a good hard look at the CompTIA Network Plus certification. Network Plus is one of my favorite things to teach. It's one of the great ooh-ahs, the eureka moments where everybody in the class suddenly goes, so that's what DNS is, or something like that. It's absolutely fabulous. There are wonderful courses all over the world for this type of stuff. Of course, I'm going to recommend a particular trainer. I forget his name. Oh, yeah, Mike Meyers, who does some amazing Network Plus stuff. They're distributed through lots of wonderful channels, lynda.com, udemy.com. You can get them at the totalsem.com. Professor Messer, you're doing Net Plus, right? He's doing Net Plus. Of course he is. They go from free to very spendy, and the thing. Okay, so guys, we're wrapping up. Good Lord, this goes fast. If you are a computer instructor who is actively teaching a course right now, I want you to know that Total Seminars is literally giving away everything that we can to help you. You have to be a legitimate instructor, having a legitimate active class right now, and you're going to have to talk to Kathy Yale from my office Here, I'm going to type her email address in. Whoops, that's a typo. It would probably get to her anyway, 2 Y's. You're going to have to talk to Kathy Yale directly, and don't try to sneak past her because she is really good at this. And trust me, she gets a lot of phone calls every day. People do, oh yeah, I'm an instructor, I got actor class. Trust me, she'll weed it out. So don't bother trying to mess with her. And on top of that, there are some situations, I got to be real careful. I'm not even going to tell you what the situations are, but there are certain situations where not only do you get free training materials across the board for total seminars, but McGraw-Hill is giving away free ebooks. This is very tricky. So don't go getting all excited and thinking it's easy. It's not, but it can be done. Again, you're going to have to contact Kathy Yale. I mean, they're literally giving it all away. This is nuts. So contact Kathy and figure it out. All right. Well, guys, it looks like it's all done. Hey, Professor Messer, thank you so much for dropping in. It's always good to see you guys. I'm going to try to get Gene Andrews in here too. I think it'd be fun to have everybody just talking a little bit and, connecting. I mean, the main reason we're doing this is to help people out through this COVID virus. That is my primary goal. We are going to keep doing this. Starting next week, we'll be doing more topics as opposed to just to ask me anything. We are definitely going to do Mike's Cool Tools, whatever else. Yeah, yes, Paul, they're drums. I'm a drummer, and whatever else we already talked about. Scott Jernigan writes this down, so I know it's all there. And kids, I have got to go because I've got to be doing some work on Security Plus. So until tomorrow at 2 o'clock Central Daylight Time, this is Mike Meyers saying bye-bye.